Hey everyone, and welcome to this special Versus episode. Now, there might be a couple of Versus episodes, but I want to start with something a little special. Crocodile Dundee versus Ace Ventura. Two personalities who love animals. Both comedies, like both series are comedies. Now, Crocodile Dundee was based on an actual person, but the guy didn't get much credit. Like, his name pops up in the credits for the movie, but the years since Crocodile Dundee's release and success, the real man was put in the shadows, and he had a bit of a falling out with Paul Hogan. Like, he knew Paul Hogan, and like, he just didn't get the recognition. Like, Paul Hogan has been well known as Crocodile Dundee, but the real man the film was based on and inspired by was like forgotten. Now, Ace Ventura, I don't recall that being based on any actual person, but it was probably inspired by Crocodile Dundee, because this is Australia's biggest, most successful film. Now, Australia's had many great movies. Sure, there's been some duds, just like America has had many duds. But Crocodile Dundee is special. Like, it was mainly filmed in Australia, in the Great Outback. Then, of course, production was in New York to finish the story. And the sequel, which some don't like and say is inferior, which, no. Crocodile Dundee 2 is a good follow-up. It mainly takes place in America, finishes in Australia. Now, that's a pretty cool thing to do. It's funny, it's a bit darker, but it's still a good ride. The third one is terrible, though. And technically there is a fourth, but I don't know much about that, and, well, it wasn't anything special either. A lot of jokes were made about it on the Paul Hogan roast. So I'm just going to stick with the first two, which are the better ones. So as you know, Crocodile Dundee, he got attacked by a big croc. He killed it, because when you're in that situation, you gotta save yourself. Now, there's many animals that are protected species, but you gotta protect yourself. You know, I mean, crocodiles, they are dangerous, but the late great Steve Irwin, who was the real Crocodile Dundee, like, well, the second coming of it, because, yeah, you had the guy which the movie was inspired by, but then you had Steve Irwin. He was great. He was nuts in a true Aussie way. You know, he'd be walking about the Australia Zoo, and he'd just be like, hey, I'll be back in a minute. He'd jump in a freaking pen with a 20-foot croc or a 10-foot alligator, and he'd just lay down next to him and he's like, g'day, mate. And you got Coyote Peterson, who you could say is the real-life Ace Ventura. He's wild. Forget Bear Grylls. He is an asshole. I hate Bear Grylls. Gutless coward kills a chicken. on live TV. You don't do that. I mean, the poor chicken. You don't do that. You demonstrate what you do with a dead chicken. One that's already prepped. You don't just go up to a live chicken eating worms and like rip its head off. That's some crazy cannibal holocaust crap. That's a voodoo ritual. Hell, the Aborigines probably won't stoop that low and show it. You know, they tell a story. They do a brilliant, beautiful, well-told story. Sure, it's all survival and all that, but no, that Bear Grylls, he's a jerk. May he get his head pecked off by a chicken. But, yeah, so Steve Irwin, great man, amazing zoo. Yeah, he just spent time with the animals. He loved them. And that's what these guys do. They love animals. But Ace Ventura is afraid of bats. Now that's funny, you know, that the whole Chicago thing and all that, but Jim Carrey didn't really like that angle. And in the first one, he's trying to get that rare albino pigeon. Then at the end of it, he beats up the mascot, who's a giant bird. I can't remember. I think it's the Eagles, the Super Bowl. Details here. And he's trying to find Snowflake the dolphin, the mascot for the Miami Dolphins. And then he has that scene with the shark, and that shark looks pretty damn good for 95. So it's a little Jaws reference as well. So yeah, you got Mick Dundee wrestling with crocodiles, and you got Ace Ventura fighting sharks. And Ace Ventura takes on a crocodile in When Nature Calls. And it shows on the board the death row spoken about in Crocodile Dundee. So, why didn't these two ever have a crossover? It could have happened instead of that stupid Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. Like, why didn't they do it then? You know, Mick Dundee's still in America. He goes on this expedition, and there's Ace Ventura, and they team up to stop some poacher trying to hunt down this endangered animal, or these protesters trying to free these animals. Just why didn't that happen? You know, these two could have had a great crossover film. You know, no one's ever really spoken about a competition, but you got these two great comedies, you know, a classic and a good follow-up. And you got these two, a classic and an even better follow-up. It's more quotable, it's absolutely hilarious. Well, no, the first one's hilarious. When Nature Calls, hysterical. So, yeah, Ace, you know, he's got that Hawaiian shirt, those striped pants. You know, he doesn't wear animal skins like Dundee does. But, yeah, Ace, you know, he's got his pet monkey, Spike. He saves Snowflake. He doesn't get the pigeon. And that happens in the animated series. There wasn't an animated Crocodile Dundee show. And then, yeah, in Nature Calls, he's trying to find the great white bat. So, something about albino animals. Now, there are albino kangaroos. They're very rare. And there are albino crocodiles. Very, very rare. So why didn't Ace, in the could have been crossover with Dundee, try and find the albino croc? You know, the white croc of, well, somewhere in Australia, or maybe it was the great white alligator, or hell, the great white shark. Even better, the shark from the first one let's say, was released in the wild and it made its way to America, and bam, there it is. This, because they're endangered. But then people will say, oh, it's being too much like Jaws, and we've had enough shark films, and maybe that wouldn't have worked. But it could have been something to see these two icons of cinema cross over and make the ultimate crossover film. Yes, I'm going to talk about the X-Men. I'm going to talk about crossovers, but yeah, I love Ace Ventura. The two films are good. The third one, terrible. Just like the third Crocodile Dundee. So you have a classic, you got solid follow-ups, and then you got the middle finger. The third is the worst. There's talk about, they're saying there's a third Ace Ventura happening, but it's technically going to be the fourth, and technically a fourth Dundee film. So maybe, if the guys want to, before age really catches up with them, we could get that crossover. It can happen animated. You can do it animated. It will work. Imagine Dundee and Ace together to team up. Maybe a little cameo by Rambo if they go in the jungle. And to really get silly, you could have like Predator in there. You can have the remains of the original Predator in the jungle. Just as a little gag, because Ace Ventura is like that. Crocodile Dundee was getting like that. But they could end up on a movie set. And there's the twist. There it is, Hollywood. An animated adventure. Crocodile Dundee meets Ace Ventura. I've got a headache. Wow. I'll spare you later. Another crossover.